Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Gaming to the Max and part 2 of our Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich, the American Union States. So, in the last episode, we had beat a majority of the, well, not beat the Great Depression, but we did the focuses for the Great Depression and the War Department. Then we had chose Huey Long as our presidential candidate. He had signed Executive Bill 7050 declaring the SBA traitors or terrorists, and now we are just waiting. Last that we heard, the SBA has denounced it and said they will fight. Serbian Republic declared war on Bulgaria. There's the fall of Madrid with the Fourth Balkan Wars. Union workers and police clash. In an unexpected move, the police have refused to enforce the various executive orders. Within Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and other cities scattered throughout the Steel Belt, they have declared a police strike in solidarity with the workers. While they work to keep order, police union leaders publicly declared that they would not allow the laws of King Long. President Long has now called his Minutemen to work with the National Guard to enforce his laws. Send in the big boys, and there's the fall of Madrid. Right, all hail King Long. The Minutemen clashed with the SBA. With the Minutemen arrived in the Steel Belt to enforce the laws of the president, they were immediately set upon by the members of the SBA and its supporters. Shootouts quickly became commonplace, and the violence quickly spread throughout almost every major city in the Steel Belt. It's been quickly noticed that the government has no remaining authority within the Steel Belt. Sending the biggest guys we've got. Light attack. Let's see. All battleships and all cruisers get better light attack with our Norfolk. MacArthur and the Army remove Long. Long's support in Washington, D.C. has finally bottomed out. Douglas MacArthur marched on the White House today with the National Guard and Army units to restore order, having declared Long to be incapable of properly carrying out the function of a constitutional president and attempted to arrest him at the White House. MacArthur's marchers reminded many in the D.C. of Cox's army in 1932, except that these soldiers are motivated to preserve the status quo instead of smashing it, and were cheered instead of booed. Having been tipped off by AFP informants in MacArthur's staff, however, President Long was able to stay ahead of MacArthur's men and have escaped the capital by motorcade. MacArthur has chosen to inhabit the White House and coordinate investigation into Long from the Oval Office. Some are even suggesting that should Vice President William Lemke prove incapable, General MacArthur might be sworn in as provincial president. My allegiance was to the Republic MacArthur, to democracy. Politics will change. The United States military becomes the ruling party. Public elections will not be held. We lose the legislation branch. Instead, we gain control legislature, plus 5% stability, and plus 10% war support. Yeah, him. Woo. President Long declares the American Union States. This is what we've been hoping for. President Huey Long escaped to Baton Rouge and has declared that General MacArthur is a traitor to the people of America. He has gained ready listeners among a number of Southern governors, all of whom have recognized that they no longer recognize MacArthur's authority and demand his resignation. Long has spoken on the radio, urging all Americans to support the legitimate president and to fight against the tyranny MacArthur represents. We will stand by the country, play as the ASU. So we will join over to the ASU. Here we go. We've got some unassigned divisions. The National. I don't like that logo personally. We can do just like the default symbol, yeah. Then the Minutemen can keep that. And the National Guard, I guess, can go to like the. There we go. I like that. Yeah, that's alright. I don't know what that one symbol was. Anyway, let's get all of you into a group. Let's see, what field marshals do I have? We got Fox Connor and George von Mosley. I guess we'll choose Fox Connor. My main general can be Danford, Patton, and Courtney. Probably do Courtney. Research. Did it keep my research? Not really. That's fine. Let's do construction 1936 armor. We'll do Ford, I guess, because we own Georgia. And can't do anything with planes. Start the military police. Free civilian factories. Start building some military factories out. And then we'll see. We'll do Colt. We might not need to build any trains. We will need to build probably the P-36As. So good on trains. Then dockyards. Let's get there we go. Do American Navy. So you've got the Mosley Reform, the Patton Reform, and the Danford Reform. Now Danford helps with artillery, but Patton, of course, makes our tanks like incredibly amazing. Start out horrible, and then they just steadily get much, much, much better. And cheaper. So probably go with Patton. But first, let's start doing the form a militia to a fighting force. And yeah, of course, we don't have any supplies. Let's see, we get the most from Georgia, the 8 militia from Georgia. So we got 30 days. We've got the standoff in America, and we have 30 days for the federal deadline. The siege of New York City. It seems forged agitators were already active in America as French and British provocateurs and agents decided New York City's boroughs to revolution. Many businessmen that could not escape have been lynched, but the mob violence has been quieted by the arrival of trained organizers, both civilian and military, from Britain and France. The National Guard has surrendered the city in a loose siege stretching from Newark to Yonkers, preventing socialist militias from entering or leaving the city, but not yet attempting an assault on Manhattan. So they took the city, but they didn't take New York as a whole. A sad fate for a great city. I'm not... I wouldn't necessarily say a great city. It's a city, though. We'll put you all right here. So missile production, tactical bombers, be the B-18s. Hopefully Tennessee joins us. Riots in New England and New York. In recent days, syndicalist militias have been struggling and failing to take control of the northeastern states from New York and New Jersey all the way up the coast of Maine. So far, governors in the region have clamped down hard on the violence, so the result has been a series of violent riots in Boston and Buffalo, not to mention a wave of uprising still ongoing within New York City itself. Citizens are on edge, and governors have denied the federal government permission to raise local militias in the area, fearful of increasing tensions further. A few New England governors are reported to be quietly asking the Canadian government to intervene should worse come to worse. Interesting, gain negative 2% stability. Let's see. It'll take us 9 more days to get these units from Georgia. Let's see. General MacArthur is sworn in as president. General MacArthur's temporary occupation of the White House has led to a calming of tensions, but a fiery shockwave of resistance all across the nation. With the situation worse than any in D.C. could have predicted, a new presidential succession law passed quickly by a joint session of a rump Congress shorn of its SPA and AFP members have decreed that in the case of presidential incapacitation or absence, the vice president and cabinet have the authority to transfer the presidential authority as commander-in-chief to another member of the military or government. In the case of the entire cabinet's incapacitation, the responsibilities of the executive should fall on the chief of staff of the United States Army. President MacArthur has been even more hurriedly sworn in the midst of his preparations for incoming civil war and has addressed the nation, reminding all traitors that they shall have time to lay down their arms. A barefaced assault on the Constitution, which is kind of like right up MacArthur's alley. Most definitely, like right up his alley. Let's see. It should show me after 8 days who has the most. You've got 9 in North Texas, so that's probably who we'll be next with. Southern governors meet in Baton Rouge. A large crowd recently gathered outside the State House in Baton Rouge to congratulate Huey Long for defying the federal government. News agencies were shown to arrive on the scene when suddenly the crowd began unfurling the battle flag of the old Confederacy. Sensing an impending political disaster, Huey Long had his men to confiscate these radical symbols of the Civil War. When the governors arrived, the press only saw the image of a defiant America determined to fight the illegitimate powers of federal corruption and the Syndicalist oppressions. The governors are now meeting with Long inside the State House to determine the proper response to the federal government's deadline. A close call. Western governors defect to the PSA. When federal troops withdrew from the area of the Rocky Mountains, there was an initial split response. The governor of Nevada, Richard Kirkman Sr., refused to allow federal troops to evacuate or abandon their equipment, but the governors of Arizona, Idaho, and Utah were more than willing to accommodate the president. However, a recent regional conference of the 4 governors in Salt Lake City has led to them deciding to collectively rely on the provisional government in California for its protection and support, and apparently most of them were led to this by their clear abandonment by the Washington government. They have announced MacArthur's takeover pro forma, and the Sacramento government has already sent its own soldiers and airmen to occupy the abandoned bases in the West. Pragmatic traitors are still traitors. Got 5 more days for these 8 militia units in Georgia. The dissolution of the United States Navy. The decay of order in the United States has impacted the U.S. Navy much like it has every other facet of American society. Many sailors and even some officers are sympathetic towards the naval high command and have dubbed forces opposed to the Republic and public order, avoiding mentioning any political terms to stay impartial as possible. Still, defections have become the norm. At first, the naval high command managed to prevent the collapse of the fleet, detaining soldiers and officers loyal to the long cause, but they could not keep this up for long. Events on the West Coast caused the disintegration of the U.S. Navy. Battle between federal loyalists and mutinous ships have broken the Pacific Fleet and given sailors across the Union a chance to break with the regime in Washington. Though some declared for the Syndicalists, others announced their support for Huey Long's uprising in Louisiana. Even a few admirals chose to switch sides and align with us. We have also seized reserve fleets and vessels stationed in the South. From them and from arriving loyalists, we have been able to assemble a modest naval fleet. We welcome loyal soldiers, loyal to the people's sailors, and admirals joined to our cause. Ship from the West Coast will arrive in the Caribbean Sea. So we got 2 battleships, 1 carrier, some heavy cruisers, and light cruisers. And we got 8 submarines. Lindenberg appeals to Long. Charles Lindenberg has arranged a meeting between Huey Long and a member of the leading industrialists, including Henry Ford, Fred Koch, and H.L. Hunt. These men are inclined to close their factories and refineries within the South to comply with orders from the federal government. However, they are instead persuaded by Lindenberg to stick up for Huey Long and move their business empires into the American Union States. On a few conditions, they ask that Huey Long guarantee some sort of political exceptions to them in these dire economic times, as well as a promise of political office once the war is won. If Long agrees to their demands, it will give them greater influence, and many of his supporters will wonder if his plans on betraying his ideals. However, refusing at such time may prove costly. We agree with their reasonings. We lose a bunch of national populism, which I think they're part of the War Powers Committee. or I will not betray my ideals. When the Civil War begins, we gain 3 off-map military factories. So Ford, Koch, and H.L. Hunt want positions. I want those 3 military factories. This might come and bite us in the butt later on, but we should be okay. If longer used, it will give them greater influence in sports. We won't betray our ideas. The AFP Declaration of Legitimacy. Many of the Southern senators were in favor of drafting new amendments on the spot. The urge to retain the legitimacy of the continuation of the United States prevailed. The AFP Declaration of Legitimacy was drafted in Baton Rouge over the course of a few days, painstaking listing their grievances with the federal government. This declaration outlined the lack of protection the federal government gave to its citizens and the role of the state to protect the welfare of the poor. The signatories declare that it is within their constitutional right to organize a militia against tyranny, and that the federal government's deadline should not only be ignored, but it must be defied. Inuit Capitis and socialist forces captured Minnesota. Federal forces left Minnesota. Floyd Olson's old friend, Governor Peterson, realized that his state would not be torn apart unless he surrendered to Jack Reed's Chicago regime. Well, there are some protests to the fact that the state had been close to voting Reed in the 1936 and helped away the peoples of Minnesota to follow their governor into the arms of the socialists. Damn them. New Mexico falls to Huey Long's government. Oh, cool. As federal soldiers and Marines left Arizona and New Mexico, they took most militiamen and National Guards with them, promising to return to their home by way of Baton Rouge by the end of the year. Fortunately, MacArthur's government, stripping New Mexico of its defenders, left it open to the takeover from nearby. Steaming up the Pecos and raced along the roads to Albuquerque and Santa Fe, Huey Long's loyal Minutemen and National Guard conquered the greater part of New Mexico before the police knew what was happening. Soon, Progressive Governor Tingley surrendered the state via radio before fleeing west to the PSA, taking most of the administration of the state with him. Thank you, Texans. Texas said, watch this. Yeet. Iowa surrendered, striking workers in Des Moines and Cedar Rapids. They were joined by newly arriving militia of Reed's now openly declared CSA. Police officers attempting to defend the Iowa State Capitol building were massacred by the mob as the seat of legislature was invaded by the workers. Governor Crashall, probably seeing which way the tide was flowing, has decided to surrender his state to the Chicago government as a new state of the CSA. Awful. The Ottoman Empire declared war on Bulgaria. Yeah, so the most we'll get is from North Texas with 9. Let's get you all under a general. Probably, I need a really good defense general. You're really good. So, Hood Simpson, congratulations. You will be put in charge. Well, fallback line. Something like that. Send more troops over to you. I hate that they come out all as green, but it'll be alright. The occupation of the northern Rocky Mountains. Soldiers and militiamen of the Western Provisional Government have finally made it over the Rocky Mountains through some small opposition, and today Cheyenne and Helena both fell to the Sacramento government. Views of the occupation are mixed in Wyoming and Montana, and many people from the cities have fled to their friends or relations out in the country. Still, there are enough new recruits from the Northern Rockies to replenish the Californian divisions, which are now racing towards the Dakotas in an effort to capture Bismarck before the CSA can. Let them have the rocks if they want. Yeah, but it'll be hard to fight through the Rockies, that's for sure. We've got 10 days. All right, Denver Conference resolves for long. Oh, ooh. Yeah. Not really what I was hoping for, to be honest. But the Denver Conference resolves for long. Following the withdrawal of federal troops from the lower plains, Republican Governor Carr of Colorado called for a meeting of the governors of Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, and Denver. While the governors of Colorado and Nebraska were from the establishment parties, Governor Ketchum of Kansas was an AFP member. This allowed for greater flexibility in choosing their side on the national conflict that is rapidly sinking into war. Ultimately, after a tense few days, the governors decided that the only side truly interested in helping the American people was Huey Long's government in Louisiana, and the straighter states have invited in the Minutemen as well as developing armies, as the developing army loyal to President Long to keep the peace in the states. Onwards toward the Atlantic. So yeah, I'm most definitely sacrificing those 3 states. Sorry. CSA partisans in Buffalo. Although President MacArthur's troops have compelled the obedience and loyalty of Governor Lincoln of New York and Albany, it seems that even more of the state than New York City has slipped from his control. Remnant strikers from recent disruptions in Rochester and Buffalo have been joined by partisans of Reed's government in Chicago, who have united to overthrow the city government and invite CSA soldiers in to protect the state. Sensing an opportunity closer to New York City, General Butler had ordered an advance up the Susquehanna source and Niagara Falls. Terrible. I guess South Carolina has not chose to go with this just yet. All right, longest victory in Tennessee today at 8:45 a.m. Longest militias assaulted federal defenses in Nashville while they were still reorganizing from their retreat east. Disorganized National Guardmen and the few Army units' presence were quickly surrounded and forced to surrender. As soon as the city of Nashville had surrendered to President Long's forces across the state, local militiamen and Longest sympathizers secured countryside in most towns, and most agreed Huey Long's control of Tennessee is undisputed. That shows the incompetence of these corrupt feds. In the Battle of Ed's Bridge, although federal troops left Missouri some days ago, Governor Stark had not yet declared for any rival government. In an attempt to gain the most favorable position in the Midwest possible, General Butler had dispatched militias to seize St. Louis across the Missouri from Illinois. Then Governor Stark's National Guard at Ed's Bridge on the border, and skirmishes ensued as the militias on both sides attempted to cross the river around the bridges without success. Finally, a row group of Illinois Minutemen came up from the north and began attacking the CSA forces from behind, which allowed Governor Stark's National Guard to push forward and force the CSA militia to surrender. Governor Stark has now declared Huey Long legitimate president, and Union forces have entered the state to guard the borders. The river held them, and the battle for Bismarck. General Butler has now assumed enough control within the CSA to organize a true campaign in the north of South Dakota. Western troops arrived in Bismarck quickly enough to prevent full encirclement. Independent North Dakota Governor William Langer, formerly aligned with Governor Long, supported the Western troops in their fight to expel socialist soldiers from the state. This coalition was powerful enough to halt General Butler's Western offensive for now. Disturbing news. I have the steel I need now. So now I'm waiting for North Carolina and South Carolina. The American Union States Congress convenes. Through the grapevine, dozens of congressmen have heard of Huey Long's assembly in Baton Rouge. Some come to wish Long very well and stayed. Others simply to court favor with the revolution. These meetings in Baton Rouge began to take on a congressional appearance, with Conlin standing as the president of the attending senators. Aware of the growing determination to defy the federal government, and that this lack of willingness to negotiate meant civil war was all but certain, a large number of the politicians have slinked away to the north. Those that remain seem to be more determined than ever to see victory. They'll get theirs. Of course, the federal deadline looms. Tennessee offers 7 militia units. North Carolina falls to the Baton Rouge government. Although many longest resources have been diverted west, the Baton Rouge government still clearly had enough militias to surround the city of Charlotte in North Carolina, and after a brief street fighting captured it. Throughout the state, North Carolinian militia obeyed the order of their new puppet governor to surrender to Huey Long's forces. We'll go all the way. That's what I thought it was trying to do. We gotta be aggressive. At the same time, this will require a lot of units, but hopefully my guys from Texas will be able to move in. We got, what, 3 days? Federalists routed in Kentucky. After losing Tennessee, Kentucky became indefensible for federal forces. Thus, General MacArthur has decided to retreat eastward and to abandon the state, hoping to retake it as soon as possible. For now, though, it seems that Long's forces have expelled the Syndicalist militias and soldiers from Kentucky. After a brief fighting at Louisville ended with the destruction of the bridges over the Ohio and the rout of Reed's militias. Alright, so what I need to do is say not 24 of you. split, so we'll take 6. In North Carolina. Let's get those 9 militia units from North Carolina. There's my Texas guys. Of course, I need rubber, chromium. Should have been training my Navy. Was not thinking about it. Your screening efficiency, positioning, McCain Sr., Robinson, career officer, fleet protector, naval AA. Put McCain there. The deadline looms. The 30-day deadline issued by the federal government is almost at an end, with none of the sides having stood down. Indeed, it is clear that the rebellious states have used this intervening times to raise militias throughout their controlled areas, meaning a civil war with a difficult fight indeed. New England submits to MacArthur. We've seen news that the New England governors asked Canada for protection, but the government in Ottawa refused. Without Canadian protection, the governors asked General MacArthur for protection from Syndicalist forces. While the states may not be entirely behind MacArthur, they are at least resolved to see him as their best chance of avoiding war. I need to raise more militias. Who has the other highest? Tennessee, Kentucky. Yeah, let's do Tennessee then. That's my state right there. Let's go Volunteers. I can hear people in the comments going, ew. Tennessee. Good old Rocky Top. Deadline looms. It's only a matter of time. The longest uprising suppressed in New Jersey. Even with the flight of Charles Lindbergh to Baton Rouge, the longest attempt to seize New York and the northwestern Jersey shore as a base to hold until reinforcements in the south arrived, was still strong enough to divert federal troops from the siege of New York to put down. Nevertheless, put down it was, and although resistance was fierce in the streets of Newark, MacArthur's men have reasserted control. These troops have now turned to Yonkers and Philadelphia, and organized offensives into rebellious states are being planned. We'll avenge them soon. Get from a militia to a fighting force, sir. There it is, the Second Civil War. MacArthur's deadline has come and gone, and with large militia forces having been raised on either side, or on every side, it is clear that their answer truly is the Second American Civil War has begun. The Pacific States. So yeah, we're all at war now. Let's see. The first thing I would like to do is go to Germany. Improve relations. Japan. You are paternal autocrats. You actually probably don't like me as much. Russia hates me. We'll just improve relations with Germany. Maybe Germany will help us. Bulgaria ended their fight with the Ottomans. I feel like I'm going to tell them to attack, and then they're just going to come back and defeat me. Puerto Rico has stayed in the fight. The Battle of Philadelphia, General MacArthur knew, like Lee and Howe before him, the Philadelphia was the key to the Mid-Atlantic. Components of the 3rd Infantry entered Pennsylvania early this week by the way of Westchester, and in coordination with other regiments assembled in Camden and National Guardmen assembled at Harbortown began an assault on downtown Philadelphia. Union members prepared major east-west streets with fallback lines reaching all the way back to Broad Street, cut the bridges over the Delaware and Schuylkill, and telephoned General Butler's forces in Allentown to coordinate counterattacks. While the initial federal assault rolled down the main line with little friction, federal attempts to cross the river near the Market Street Bridge were greatly disrupted by Syndicalist local activity, and soon General Butler's long-range guns, evacuated from the Frankfort Arsenal a week before, were causing havoc in federal supply lines. An exasperated President MacArthur eliminated all restrictions on his troops in the region, and the fighting became increasingly messy. Nevertheless, the federal forces were mostly pushed back over the border to Maryland. All across the splintered and fractured nation, the splintered factions have seen their chance to begin offensive operations against all competing governments, and from Minnesota to North Carolina, from New York City to New Mexico, and skirmishes and civil unrest have at least escalated to battles. It is clear to all that the Second American Civil War has begun. Fighting is bad for everybody. Mexico has joined the 3rd International. Superior firepower. Ooh, I should have done mobile warfare for the tanks. I'll just have to switch over. So we're going to do Patton's reform plan. Citing our outdated army organization, General Patton has approached us with a reform plan, insisting that a strong offensive thrust is the best way of defending our lands from the corrupt feds. Treacherous Reds. His plan would see us orient our business towards the rapid motorization of our forces. With his harsh message having their critics, no one's down in the results he'll bring on the offensive. Mobile warfare doctrine. And battle plan, and of course he's got superior firepower. It's just, I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. It's just not, it's not as good as getting super cheap tanks. Production cost for tanks, production cost negative 15%, so that's negative 25%. It's negative, or yeah, 25% to building tanks, and they're pretty good tanks. Of course, we all get these. This is just leaders. Yeah, Patton's the best way to go. Let's do destroyers. Let's get our Air Force going. Let's see. U9 from North Carolina. Go under Joseph Collins. Put you all up here. Actually. Put you all here and then move these 8 back to actually fighting the CSA. Alabama and Kentucky. Let's do Kentucky because it's 8. Now they've started to it's my Tennessee boys. Took Springfield. The War Powers Committee, business leaders within our territory have formed a committee ostensible in the support of Huey Long in order to coordinate the war effort on his behalf, called the War Powers Committee. Just as Huey Long himself has created offices to handle the monumental task of fighting for America, so that the industrialists take it upon themselves to create an industrial institution. Though they do not have all the power that they were promised, they have declared themselves to be the arsenal of the ASU and are led by the controversial, anti-Semitic, but respectable General von Horn Mosley, a former ally for now. So we got to watch out for them. Alabama. Looks like Alabama. Good old Alabama. The Litigation Cities grants us observers' rights. The Litigation Cities have made the decision to grant representatives from all nations involved in the Second American Civil War access to the council chambers. Much like Britain and Russia, we are now effectively locked out of decision-making in the mandate. We have no spine in Shanghai. Get your guys to at least right here. There we go. Look at that. Already successfully destroyed a bunch of their units. And then over here we're just holding. Which I do need to send more troops over here. We can push on the Federalist front or the Syndicalist front. It's probably the Syndicalist once we get everything situated. 6 from Mississippi. Looks like that's the highest. How many units am I allowed? 78. So I gotta watch out for that. You only allotted so many units in Kaiserreich, so Hawaii has joined the Reichspakt. I'm okay with that. Okay, my Kentucky Guard. We'll send the 7th Kentucky National Guard out west. Alright, let's push on the Syndicalist front, because their units don't seem to actually have that many troops. My National Guard guys can aim towards Washington. But you are at least aggressive. Serbia and Bulgaria made peace. So there's the 7 divisions. 2 divisions. let's see, let's do this. We'll put you and you under Mosley, because I want you all covering that. Do 5 from Oklahoma, then I'd say that'll be about all I can get. Syndicalism spread to the Philippines, even Asia. Liberalism isn't safe. The only reason I'm having the 36th division take Chicago is because I'm actually a part of the modern 36th Infantry Division. The more you all know. We'll put Danaford in charge of these guys. And yeah, we're now over our unit, so we gotta really be careful with that. Legionary takeover in Bulgaria. Alright. No more raising the militias as of right now. But we have 100% crippled the Syndicalists earlier in this war. Do LeMays or Waylands. Fighters, support, tactical bombers. If we go through here, patents, like the tanks originally are horrible. They're negative 30% reliability, armor, then they just steadily get a lot better. So we'll just do with patent reform plan. There's the 10th International Congress. Pension Federation took a state. Day 3, Hemingway's speech. The socialist delegate to the Second International Congress, Ernest Hemingway, has given a speech condemning our actions against the CSA and calling our intensified support for the Reds in the war. This may redouble our efforts to crush Reed before he receives any additional help. Onwards, negative 40 per political power. Oh, we're cutting through them. Oh yeah, Germany. But see, Germany has not helped us. I figured Germany would jump on the, jump on it. Austria declared war on Bulgaria. Crisis on the Danube. See if we can move that unit in there in time, but I doubt we'll be able to. Yeah. I need to see where my Air Force is even sitting at right now. You're a fighters group. We'll put you on the East Coast. Some tactical bombers. Do those. Some fighter groups here. Intercepts. just delete you. And I'll take you guys and I'll strike force you here. I'll take you all convoy right here. Order restored in Indiana. Over the past few weeks, Union government forces have been busy in Indiana, arresting those we feel would prove a hindrance to our control and helping our local supporters, supporting the good word amongst the people, or spreading the good word. We want to reassure them that as American citizens, they have no reason to fear our presence. Our efforts have slowly begun to bear fruit, even in the midst of all this chaos. Indiana loses claim on the state, is now a core of the American Union states. Perfect. Take Madison there. Knock out Omaha. Oh man, we can get 9 militia units from Indiana, but we can't get any. Alright, you gotta stop. You all hold. Best as you can. Oh, well, we sunk 2 destroyers. Actually, I want you all to stay in Miami, please. Alright, we lost 1 submarine there. They moved in the pride of the fleet. So we have the USS Tennessee. Woo, 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 woo. Versus what? The USS Pennsylvania. We've lost 1 destroyers. The Belgian Syndicalist Republic. Then we got a carrier moving in to support. Their battleship's about to be sunk. They got out in 1937 Dutch elections. We lost 3 destroyers there. 4 destroyers. I don't know if that was really worth it. We sunk 1 light cruiser and 1 destroyer in favor of 4 of our destroyers and 1 of their submarines. Wouldn't necessarily count that as the best victory I've ever seen, but, you know. Every once in a while you take some, you lose some. But I will say the Syndicalists have almost completely collapsed. Queen Wilhelmina abdicates the Dutch throne. Now we'll have to move and fight as best as we can against the old government. We'll reconquer these territories, reconquer those territories, and then fight the Pacific states. The fall of Detroit. Oh, they're 89% towards capitulation. Gotta wait, gotta do this one. Let's do this. With that extra research slot. Lost 2 submarines there. Oh, remember when I said they can randomly naval invade you? Well, if you're not paying attention. This is what I meant by that. This is what I meant by that. Oh, what? I didn't realize my troops had moved off the position right there. Save up my political power. There's MPs. Icelandic independence. Mysore's capitulating. Get the effects of the rightful president, and there's the formation of the Moscow Accords. They weren't kidding when they said a dangerous naval invasion. Rising Sun. Austria took 15 states. Hungary was annexed. And yeah, I still have no support from anybody. Russia's supporting the old United States. I'd figure at least Germany would send troops. Figured Austria probably wouldn't. They're 93% towards capitulation. Peru declared war on Ecuador. The Japanese ambassador becomes High Commissioner in Shanghai. I don't think interesting is the right word for it, but okay. Military factories. Fuel silo. The Guangxin government declared war on Hunan Click. The 4th of July. There's the main American fleet under Halsey. Yeah, my guys better just hide out. Syndicalist uprising in the west. Ooh. Fighting along the west coast between Syndicalist sympathizers and security forces has been severe in recent weeks, but dropped off within the last weeks, leading to hopes that the Unions out west have finally given up hope of success. These hopes were dashed as a new uprising was revealed, with a number of militias organized by powerful Teamster and longshoreman unions in Washington and Oregon State and armed through underground efforts. These opened up new fronts in the Civil War should the rebels find a way to break out of the mountains. Washington and Oregon. Technically, what I need to do Commodores plan wants to do in the industrial contracts. And we're no longer pushing against the Syndicalist. The Mozambique Bush Wars of the Middle African Colonial Federation declared war on Portugal. New York might be on the verge of falling. Forward capitulates. 60 move over to mobile warfare. Get delay. Lost 3 submarines. We most definitely kind of get the short end of a stick for submarines, or for Navy. Resistance to occupation, Iowa. Resistance rises in the Midwest. Support for the Democratic proponents in the Pacific government is strong in the American Midwest. Solar protests on the streets frequent, many of whom appear to be placing blame for the Civil War squarely on the soldiers' shoulders of General MacArthur. These protesters have recently become more organized and have culminated in widespread uprisings across Colorado, quietly funded and equipped through underground means. Whether these rebels will succeed and open a new front for the Civil War remains to be seen. So Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska are no longer a core for the American Union states. We can raise conscriptions. Let's do that, mobilize the economy. So it gives us more divisions available. That'll help us quite a bit. The Dutch Revolution. Dutch East Indies joins the Reichspact. The Batavian Commune joins the Third International. Syndicalists are so close. If they knocked out New York, it would be the end. I'm going to try to clear them off from up here. Then use the rest of my forces as like a battering ram against the Federals, while my National Guards and militia units hold against the Pacific states. Industrial contracts. Cheaper firearms. Lost the submarine. And maybe if we take Pittsburgh. Oh, I only have Ford as a tank designer. I'd rather have GM. Sure. Ford reliability. Czechia declared war on the Austrian Empire. Serbia declared war on the Austrian Empire. Galicia and Lodomeria declared war. Illyria declared war. Floyd Olson passes away. Today, unfortunate information received from the Minnesota home of former governor and farmer later champion Floyd Olson. The Olson household revealed that he had died from stomach cancer that had reoccurred. Olson had spent the last summer campaigning for senator of Minnesota and successfully won the seat. Upon the outbreak of the Civil War, multiple governments had courted his favor as his farm labor party grew significantly divided. However, the increasingly ailing senator withdrew to his home without expressly picking his side. Though his cancer had initially gone into remission, it appears that it had reemerged, much to the shock of Olson and his loved ones. Before he died, the senator released a statement apologizing for not being there for his state, country during such turbulent times. President Huey Long has expressed his condolences for Olson's family. Though with Minnesota's status as barely divided border state, it is expected that Olson will not be the only family mourning in the near future. His soul goes on marching. Dug in like ticks up here. Peru, Ecuador was annexed by Peru. Chaos on the Danube. Oh, how many was that? 42,000? 18,000? 18,000. Yeah. Well, you're a 1-star versus a 6-star skilled general. Another big one. 49,000. The Italian Civil War has resumed. Move all you guys back over here. Here comes out governments proclaimed. Now it's time to fight the Federalists. Oh, we sunk. I thought we had lost our carrier. We lost 1 destroyer, sunk a aircraft carrier, 1 light cruiser, and 2 destroyers. Back to be repaired. Serbia declared war on Illyria. Start pushing the Syndicalists. We have been the hammer. I should say we are the hammer. The fall of Rome. Probably should push on the Federalists. Pittsburgh is surrounded. How many was that? 20,000 there in Pittsburgh. Another 13,000 in Pittsburgh. Tank commission. Yeah, we lost those submarines. Agrarian revolt in India. The end of the Austro-Hungarian dualism. They're now 88%. Oh yeah, because they've gained all this ground back. And the agrarian revolt declared war on the Baratia communes. Serbia capitulated. How many days do I get this for? 90 days? I think I'll hold on to it. Rushing somebody over to Buffalo. There's another big encirclement right there. Pop, 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 pop. Look at those little helmets. Pop, 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 pop. How many was that? 71,000? Yeah. Oh yeah. America's back. Well, actually the AUS is back. The Chilean-Argentine War. Argentina War. There's Peru. Germany, you don't want to help me, do you? I don't know why Germany hates me this time around. We'll actually do the fleet and green. Yeah, let's mobilize the economy one more time. Montclair declared war on Tibet. Order restored in Siam. More of you. Some of you. Trade. Trade. That is like a huge, huge pocket. We can re-push on the Syndicalist front. I don't know if it would be worth it. Need Start pushing. There's the tank commission. Requisition civilian trucks. Start having those boys come out of Indiana, those 9. We'll throw them up under him. Bulgaria joins the Belgrade Pact. It's a lot of units right there. Russia took a last order restored in West Virginia. Over the past week, Union government forces have been busy in West Virginia, arresting those we still feel should be a hindrance to our control and helping our local supporters spread the good word amongst our people. Excellent news. That was the same thing we read for Indiana earlier. There he is. Popping, 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 popping. We can call out the Virginia guys. Hopefully we're at 93 out of 93, which will raise it up when Estonia joins the Moscow Accords. 126,000 troops up here north of Buffalo. Moving to Rochester. Fall of Vienna. So the Habsburgs are pretty much gone. Great. The military intelligence services. Oh wait. I think later on we get a chance to let's see. Spy. Intelligence. No? I'll create the Lyria joins the Reichspakt. Do elastic defense. Let's put you under him. Chenault. Try to force our way to knock out New York. Austria collapsed into anarchy. Hungary joins the Reichspakt. It's still crazy to me that no one's offered to send me troops. Bolivia went to war versus Paraguay. Motorize the man. The cavalry of tomorrow. Just push on the federal front. It's really who we're fighting right now. he's about to fall. After Patterson announced the motorization program for our new American Army, a proposal was sent to President Long to decide on the requisition of civilian vehicles in order to supply our fast-growing army. With his approval, we have begun seizing vehicles from the civilian population, although to our surprise, some proud patriots lined up next to our storages to volunteer their vehicles for the incoming fight. While not all other vehicles have proven to be useful for us, we have managed to requisition a far amount of trucks which can either be modified to transport troops with ease, or which are sturdy enough to transport our troops at once. The Kingfish thanks you for your service. We get 850 units of trucks into the national stockpile. Which does help us. Fall of Washington. And the feds are falling fast. Which is quite good for me. Like the feds might fall faster than the Syndicalists do. CIA was formed. The blue shirts march on Dublin. So you're at 84%. Sildorian commune has fallen. Factories built up. Who would sell to me? Nobody is like selling anything. Hey Germany, would you send me rifles? No. You wouldn't. You probably would. You like me enough. You don't like me enough. I guess no one likes me enough to send me guns. What about Japan? I really doubt it then. I just need to improve relations. Russia, no. Follow Buenos Aires. Oh, you all now own Austria. Order restored in Illinois. Excellent news. Cavalry tomorrow. Streamlined tanks. Lost quite a bit of men, yeah, 131,000. Almost killed 500,000 socialists, syndicalists. We've taken all of their capital. Once we're done over here, we'll turn our attention westwards. Keep that unit there. Alright, well, I'm going to end episode 2 here. Us about to knock out the Syndicalist. I think we're pushing on the Federalist fronts, though. Yeah, I should have waited. Should have hold off. Let's see. you. Not diplomatic pressure. Without resistance. The Italian Republic was annexed. I thought they were winning the last time I looked. Nope. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, the Fed boys are about to be destroyed down here. I know I said I was going to get off here. Die Kaiserreich. Proclaimed himself successor. So pretentious. Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'd say we would be friends. Let's research this. We can do Colt now. Or Remington. Which Remington now is in Tennessee. No, not Remington. Maybe it is Remington. Yeah, paternal autocrats. Who's this? Japan's declaring war on us. Iron Guard achieves total control in Romania. Someone has to be willing to sell me some type of rifle. Guatemala. Somewhat. These are some Irish rifles. Alright, Ireland. I'll buy your rifles. Not much. Buy your rifles, Japan. Buy these Mausers. Alright, there we go. Just realized that I didn't have enough convoys. Start building convoys. Alright, yeah, I need to stop. Alright, I hope you all have enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.